What is up, everyone? Movie Worm back again with another end of month vlog. This is just me talking about everything I watched in the month of November 2023. Some of these movies are from the cinema, some are on streaming, and some of them are in this Blu-ray pile next to me here. So let's just get into it now. The first thing that I watched in November 2023. So first up, we have Five Nights at Freddy's. This is a video game adaptation of a video game I haven't actually played. I'm a huge video gamer, but I've just never got round to Five Nights at Freddy's. Doesn't really look like my type of game. It looks like you're just sitting there clicking buttons and stuff. I did watch a few gameplay videos going in. Look very strange to me, but it is a hugely popular game amongst the younger audience and teenagers. So I'm glad they've got this adaptation, and I've heard that a lot of them seem to enjoy it. And I did to a point. I thought this movie was fun enough. Good little gateway popcorn horror flick, if you like. And this follows Josh Hutcherson, who has to go and stay at this abandoned pizzeria as a security guard for 5 nights. And each night it gets a little bit worse. I think that's the game gets harder, and here in the movie it gets a little bit more creepy and stuff. So hence the name Five Nights at Freddy's. And these like puppets are starting to come to life and stuff and come after him. It's a little bit of a hokey, goofy movie, if you like. And it did really remind me of Willy's Wonderland with Nicolas Cage in. I thought the horror and stuff was fun enough, but there was a few kills that are like off screen. Like I said, it's a bit of a gateway horror film. Josh Hutcherson was doing fine up until the third act, where he shows a little bit of anger and emotion. It kind of stood out that he just wasn't that convincing, really. And I've heard there's a few bits of lore in this, in the background here. There's books and everything about Five Nights at Freddy's, and there was just a few Easter eggs thrown in there that I obviously did not get, but I could tell that they were thrown in there, especially the post-credit scene. The movie did become a little bit predictable with one character that I seen at the start. I just knew what way it was going to go, and it did. But overall, this was a fun enough time, and we are probably going to get a sequel now because this has done amazing at the box office. But for me, I just found it okay. Next up, we have House LLC, The Carmichael Manor. Now, I gotta say, guys, I am not easily scared by movies, but this movie terrified the life out of me. The last movie to creep me out was actually the original Hell House, and this is actually a prequel to that movie. And this takes place in a separate house, but it's in the same town as the Abaddon Hotel from the original. And this sees 3 ghost hunters, and it's all found footage, going to check out this Carmichael Manor because this family, a couple of them were murdered there years before, and a couple of them did go missing as well. So they're going to investigate what actually happened and see if there's any clues in the house and see if it is actually really haunted. And by God, it is. What I liked about this one is when there's a scare scene happen, it is done very, very effectively, and you know, it kind of puts you on edge, and the payoff is always good, but it doesn't really let you breathe. There's always another one coming. Once we finally get into the jump scares and stuff, and the scare scenes about 30 minutes in, it is relentless, and you can just tell there's this horrible evil presence surrounding this house, and you just want these characters to get out. You're kind of shouting at the screen and stuff. I turned to my wife watching this and said, "Are you scary?" And she went, "Yeah, I'm terrified." And I was exactly the same. I've recommended this to people at work and stuff. They came in and said they were scared of the movie. And it is going to be subjective. Not everyone is going to be scared by the film, but the majority of people I've spoken to who have watched this did say they were actually creeped out. Found footage may not be your thing, but if you're willing to give it another go, this is probably one of the most effective found footage films I have seen. And I've done a full review for this over on my horror channel. I'll leave the link to the horror channel down below because I'm going to mention a few other videos in a minute that are on that channel with regards to some of these movies. But I definitely think this is worth a go. I would recommend going with the original Hell House and then going to this, but you can still watch this without watching the original. So that is House LLC, The Carmichael Manor, the scariest movie of the year for me. Next up, we have the movie called The Vanishing. Now, I'd heard a lot of recommendations about this on Pete Playtendo Guy's stream. I'll leave his link down below if you want to go and check out his channel. He does live streams every Wednesday. They're really fun to listen to. The guys over there are great. Got Nige and Scott and Andy and Mike and everything. You know, they just know their stuff about films. And I did hear them recommend this a few times and talk about it, and it got me really interested. And I've got to say, I did think this movie was fine, but I didn't really get the whole full impact of it, if you like. I mean, It's not just them guys as well. There's people on Letterboxd who give this 5-star reviews. It's got a very high rating. You know, I just see lots of 4.5, 5s and stuff. But it just didn't hit me in the way I wanted it to. And maybe I just built myself up too much with expectation. But it was still a good movie. Now, this follows this guy who's going, I think he's at a express service station or something. And his wife goes in to pay for something with his girlfriend at the time. I can't quite remember. And she never sees it again. And he is racking his brains as to what has happened to her. Jumps forward a few years. He's still looking for her, still wants to know. And the movie does go down a little bit of a dark path regarding a certain character who is just creepy as hell in this movie. And I wouldn't say this is a full-blown horror movie. It's more of a thriller, crime movie, but the ending did have a really horrifying feel to it. I mean, it's a hard-hitting ending. Even though I don't think the movie impacted me as much, the ending was a little bit, ooh, you know, that's a little bit much there. So overall, not a bad movie. Maybe on rewatch, if I give it a go, I might see the brilliance of it, but I thought it was fine. You know, I do recommend it if you're interested, if this is your type of movie. So that is The Vanishing. Next up, we have The Thing from Another World. This is actually the original movie to John Carpenter's The Thing, and it's basically the same sort of setup, but a totally different monster, if you like. Now, this is just basically, you know, the drift, they find something in the Antarctic, and they trying to figure out what it is. It breaks free, and it is this monster-looking thing here. However, it doesn't do a lot of the John Carpenter stuff. The John Carpenter stuff where it's infecting people and stuff, that wasn't really in this movie. So John Carpenter did actually know how to do a remake. He took a concept and went his own way with it. So that is how you do a remake, I suppose. But this was okay. I didn't love it, though. There was too many characters in this movie. There was no one to get behind, really. There's like 12 characters all like popping on the screen here and there all the time. There was some cool monster moments where, especially where this thing knocks down a door. I thought that was filmed really well. Looked cool. Looked very vintage monster movie style, if you like. But I just couldn't attach myself to any of the characters. The story was just a little bit muddled all over the place. Like I said, there was characters popping in here and there, and none of them were actually all that likable. But I don't think the movie gave them time to have a personality, if you like. The whole setup and stuff was good. The first 30 minutes I was digging it, and then it just kind of just went. It was fine. I do know that you've got to take the date of this movie that was into account. I think it's 1950s odd, 1950 something, 1951. That's an old movie, man. So didn't love it, unfortunately, but it was okay. Next up, we have Batman and Harley Quinn. Now, a lot of people have told me this is probably the worst Batman animated movie, and it is on the lower end. I think this was a little bit better than the latest one we got, though, with the Doom That Came to Gotham. I did not like that movie at all. But this one was, yeah, there's better Batman animated films out there for sure. This one is kind of a weird comedic one, like romantic comedy, if you like. It's weird. And yeah, they team up with Harley Quinn to take down Poison Ivy and this other, I can't remember the other villain's name, but they are sort of polluting the planet with plants and stuff, but they don't know how they're doing it. It's kind of an environmental message in there, if you like. But it's got the usual nice animation, got the usual nice voice work. Like all these animated films do. You can't fault the voice work at all. But it was just one of them that, yeah, it's probably one of the most forgettable Batman animated films. But I've nearly got through all of these in my collection now. I've only got 2 more to watch from the ones that I own. I always just pick these up if they're going cheap and CEX and stuff. I do enjoy the majority of them, but yeah, wasn't great. It was okay though. It was better than what people were telling me. So that is Batman and Harley Quinn. Next up is a movie I actually watched on Shudder, and then I went and bought the Blu-ray because I actually quite enjoyed it. Now, I'm going to be talking about a few Eli Roth movies here, so I did watch a lot of his filmography leading up to Thanksgiving, which I'm going to talk about in a minute as well. But, like I said, I'll leave the link to my horror channel down below. I've done a full Eli Roth ranking of all 8 of his movies from worst to best, and I had a fun time with all of them, I'm not going to lie, even the one that was last. But I also have a Thanksgiving full review down there as well. So I'll just leave that link down below. But we do have The Green Inferno. Now, I'd heard a lot of talk about this movie, how brutal it was. And there was some bloody moments in here. It's got to be said. Eli Roth can do gore very well. And this sees a young, her name, it's Eli Roth's wife in real life. Now, I'm really sorry I forgot her name. It should be on the back here. Lorenza Izzo. That's it. That is Eli Roth's wife in real life. She's been in a few of his films, as I didn't notice when I was watching them. But she wants to make a difference in the world. She doesn't like the way how women are treated in Africa and stuff. And she joins this environmental group who want to save the rainforest and stuff like that. And they just decide to go on this trip to the rainforest and do a demonstration in front of all these construction workers and stuff. And she decides to go along with them. She wants to make a difference in the world. On the way there, the plane crashes into the rainforest, and lo and behold, they've just survived the plane crash, and now these cannibals have come along to basically kidnap them and throw them in this jail cell and eat them one by one. Now, this feels like them old cannibal holocaust, cannibal ferox, cannibal movies in the jungle and the rainforest and stuff. He definitely got that vibe in a more modern audience. And I felt like that's what he was going for, and he did achieve that, I thought. There is a kill in this movie where someone gets dismembered, mutilated, and it is gory as hell. It's really rough to watch, but I couldn't help but enjoy the kill moments. That's what I love horror movies for. Definitely Eli Roth's most goriest kill, and he has made 2 Hostel movies, man, but that one was the worst. And you do root for the main character a little bit, but all the other characters, they're not too enjoyable or too likable. There's one guy who is probably the most grotesque, one of the most worst horror movie side characters I've ever seen. There's one moment where he's just jerking off in a cage. And he says, I gotta leave some stress in front of everyone. It's just like, what the hell is going on here? Eli Roth, I don't know if he throws intentional comedy in his movies, but some of this was quite funny. There's a moment where they stuff a dead body with lots of weed, and because there's this stoner amongst the group, and he goes, this should get the cannibals all knocked out and then we can try and escape, and all it does is make them more hungry and give them the munchies, so the cannibals are trying to break into the crates to eat them again. It's very, very silly at times, but it is also very brutal. So I quite enjoyed this one, and I had to pick it up to add it to the collection. So that is The Green Inferno. Next up, we have another Eli Roth movie called Knock Knock. Always been a little bit interested in about this one, and I did do a live stream on my horror channel with Mike, Cinema Axeman, whose link I'll leave down below. And he told me about Knock Knock and how Keanu Reeves is so wacky and stuff in this. So I wanted to check it out anyway, because I was watching Eli Roth's movies. I decided to definitely give it a go. And do you know what? This movie was quite interesting. This follows Keanu Reeves, whose wife goes away for the weekend with the kids. He's in the house on his own, and these 2 women knock, really nice looking women. One of them is Lorenza Izzo, the other one is Ana de Armas in one of her earlier roles. And they knock and basically force themselves on him, and he has a threesome with them. And he wakes up the next day and his life turns upside down, put it that way. These girls will not leave the house. And I was always interested as to what was going on, why these girls were doing this to him, what their point of, what point they wanted to make, what message they wanted to get out there. And this was quite an interesting movie all the way through. I was quite enjoying it, and Keanu Reeves does do some crazy acting in this. There's some crazy monologues. I don't know, again, if that was intentional or it's just bad acting. I don't know. But the end of this movie definitely ruined it. I mean, it was going to get a higher rating on my Letterboxd and stuff, but the ending just didn't do it for me and brought the whole movie down, because the movie doesn't know whether it wants to be a man-hating movie or a woman-hating movie, because it doesn't paint either in a very good light. And I was just like, oh, really? Is that it? Could we not have got a better ending there? Some crazy dialogue and stuff in here. But if you've got the hots for Ana de Armas, whoever you are, you might see some nudity from here and here. Just saying, if that's your sort of thing. So that is Knock Knock. Next up, we have The House with a Clock in its Walls. Eli Roth's most mainstream movie by far. This is another gateway horror movie for kids, I suppose, because it's more of a fantasy adventure film, but there are definitely lots of horror elements thrown in. And I think that's why they actually picked Eli Roth to do this. I think he may have wanted to do a much younger audience, a movie for a much younger audience, and they thought, well, there's a bit of horror here, let's give it to Eli Roth, and I think it was a good choice. This was actually a movie, yeah, like I said, I wasn't looking forward to this one at all, really, but it was quite a decent film, I thought. This follows a young boy who is orphaned and he has to go and stay with his uncle, who is Jack Black, and he is actually a warlock. And he's got this witch living with him, who's his friend, played by Kate Blanchett, and the chemistry between them is awesome. That is definitely the best part about the entire film. Jack Black and Kate Blanchett bouncing off each other. But this basically it's a very strange story, this very strange concept. It's basically them two living in this house and this evil warlock who has something to do with the house years before is released, and he comes after this key or this clock that's hidden in the walls that Jack Black's been trying to find for ages, and if he gets it, he can basically destroy the world. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, this. I thought it was okay, but I do think it's like, I thought I was getting a little bit lost at times, and this is a kids movie. Like, I wouldn't say lost, but you do have to keep up with it because the story goes in all different directions in the third act. It tries to do too many things, but I did enjoy it for what it was. It was something different, something unique, and I know it's based off a novel, but you know, I like this little shake-up of, you know, these warlocks living in the house, the young boy comes to stay with him. It just felt a little bit different there. So it was okay, but it's probably going to be the least memorable Eli Roth movie I'm going to see. It wasn't actually bottom of the ranking, but it's probably the one I'm going to forget the most, and probably the one I'm going to revisit the least. But for a one-time watch, it wasn't bad. That is The House with a Clock in Its Walls. Next up, we have my new release of the month, and that is Thanksgiving, another Eli Roth film, of course, his newest one. And I had such a fun time in the cinema with this. It's not the best movie of 2023, but it did crack my top 10. However, it's probably the most fun I've had at the cinema. I just laughed my ass off, and then, you know, I was laughing my ass off, and then I was taken aback by how gory it was. It gets a really good blend of comedic horror, I suppose, horror comedy. And this basically follows this killer going around called John Carver. He wants to get a little bit of a revenge for something that happened the year before, because these people stormed this big supermarket or like this big store where they're going to have a Black Friday sale, and a few people are killed, and this John Carver character wants to teach some of them people responsible a lesson. Some of the kills in this movie were fantastic. There's people being put in ovens and stuff like that. There are sweet corn, no, what you put the sweet corn on the cob holders shoved in people's ears. A lot of these kills do have something to do with Thanksgiving and cooking, which I thought was fun. And I really like the cheesiness of it. Like, there's one point where he kills someone who's eating a corn on the cob, and as he kills them, the corn on the cob just rolls towards his foot, and he puts his foot on it. Or like he's chasing someone with an axe, and he's scraping his axe and stuff as he gets nearer to them. The killer was great. He was such a unique looking slasher villain, and I hope we do get to see more of this John Carver character. That's what he's referred to in the movie, by the way. That is not the reveal of the actual killer, but Eli Roth has already come out and said we're getting a Thanksgiving 2 in a couple of years, so can't wait for that. And yeah, this was just, you know, I love, as a slasher fan, getting these movies. This is what I go, as much as I love all different types of films, this is my favourite type of movie. Just a good old slasher movie. Now, I do think this would fit very well in the 80s if it didn't have that 4K pristine look about it, because it pays homage to them movies so well. It just incorporates a lot of what made them movies great and puts it in here. And I just thought this was a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it. And I would definitely, one of the movies I would rewatch, you know, from this year more than most others. You know, I really want to rewatch this and Terminator, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, the most out of all the movies I've seen this year. So, yeah, really good film. If you're a slasher fan, I can see you enjoying this one. That is Thanksgiving. Next up, we have another Eli Roth film, and that is Death Wish, starring Bruce Willis. Now, this was a fun movie to watch, a very easy watch. It's basically your typical revenge flick. Sees Bruce Willis's house broken into, where his wife is killed and his daughter is put into this coma, and he's had enough of the world. This city that he's living in kind of reminded me of old Detroit from RoboCop, because the crime is just so high. It's getting out of control, and he decides to take matters into his own hands and, you know, become this like cult hero amongst the city. And there's all people on the news and stuff saying whether he is right or in the wrong, and you kind of get behind the guy because obviously he's going out to kill some scumbag. So it is one of them just typical revenge flicks. I do think Death Sentence and the movie Nobody especially done it way better, but it was fine. It just didn't offer too much. And Bruce Willis was, look, I don't want to say too much. I don't know if this is the start of his little disease that he had or whatever, or that he's got, sorry. Well, not a little disease. It's a huge disease that he's got. It really upset him on as well. But he just couldn't really get into the character. He just felt like he was bobbling along, and it may have something to do with that. I don't know. So I don't want to be too harsh on him there. But it was fine. There was some really cool moments. I really loved it when he went up to these hoodlums at one point and just shot them and just didn't give a fuck in the middle of this neighborhood. But yeah, Death Wish, not bad. I know it's a remake. I have not seen them movies, and I really do want to. I know there's 5 of them. I've heard 1 and 2 are really good, but yeah, I can't comment on how good of a remake it is compared to them ones. But this was a fine movie from Eli Roth. Next up, we have Cabin Fever. Now, I watched this years ago and thought it was okay, and I rewatched it this time and seeing so many problems with it. But again, I couldn't help but have a lot of fun with it at the same time. Follows these group of teens who go to this cabin, and this disease starting to rot away at each one of them. It starts peeling their skin and eating them from the outside to the in and stuff like that. It's a really gruesome disease that these characters seem to get, and it's all about surviving and staying away from one another, and dog eat dog world, basically. Yeah, so I think this was quite a fun movie. Just some weird dialogue in this film, like 3 times Eli Roth says something about being gay, and it's there's this one point where this guy is sort of wanting to get into this female character, and they have a little kiss, and he's been chasing her for years, and she jumps in the lake, and he goes, "So does this mean we can start dating now?" And she goes, "Don't be gay." What is that dialogue? And there's another bit where this guy's going hunting, and he goes, "I'm going to shoot some squirrels," and he goes, "Why would you go and shoot squirrels?" And he goes, "Because they're gay." That's the type of dialogue we got here. Some weird characters, like the shop owner, and the joke at the end is just so strange when it comes full circle. You'll know what I mean when you watch the film. And this cabin doesn't feel remote at all. There's just characters knocking on the door. Eli Roth turns up at one point with a load of weed when these characters are just having a campfire. Yeah, it's a bizarre film, but one that I did quite enjoy. There's some fun moments, some good gore. You know, when people are taken out with hammers and stuff, it happens. So, yeah, not a bad film. That is Cabin Fever. Next up, we have It Came From Beneath the Sea. I just fancied an old-fashioned monster film, and twice I done it this month with The Thing and this. But this one was running at 70 minutes, and I thought, you know what, I just wouldn't mind just throwing a quick movie on there, and yeah, this was actually better than The Thing from Another World for me. It follows this group of, the military are trying to track this squid or this octopus that's causing mayhem around the world, and been spotted at sea a few times, and it does actually finally come to land and start wrapping its tentacles around bridges and skyscrapers and stuff like that. And it actually looked, it's stop motion and stuff, but it actually looked good for the time. I think this is another 50s film, and it might be 1955. So for the time, it did look quite good, I thought. I suppose they're all little model cities and stuff like that. I'd have to watch the special features, but there was a love story in this that I just didn't care for. That was the big negative of the film, and that was about half the runtime. These 2 characters I just did not care about whatsoever. And I know they have to fill the runtime out, so you can't just have a monster attacking the city and that's it, but they were the only parts I really cared about. And for a movie that's 70 minutes, then parts actually dragged, where it was just like the romantic side of things. But overall, I did like all the monster stuff and stuff, so it wasn't bad. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd. That is, It Came From Beneath the Sea. Next up, we have The Blackening. Now, I did actually book in at the cinema to see this, but something come up and I had to cancel, so I finally got round to watching it on digital. Now, this is a horror comedy that basically plays on all the black humor and the black jokes. You know, like the tagline is, "We can't all die first," because typically black people, or they used to be, were killed first in horror movies, and it's like a horror trope, so it makes fun of that. And this follows a group of characters who go and stay in this remote cottage. Typical horror story. They find this board game, and the board game starts to ask them all questions to do with the black community and black people and stuff, and they have to answer right or someone will die. And I thought it was a really fun concept. I didn't get all of the humor. I don't, just because maybe I'm not, obviously I'm a white person, and I don't know I'm not actually part of the whole black community or whatever. There was some stuff I didn't get there, but there was some really funny laughs as well, on the other hand. So some of the characters were fun as well. There was some annoying ones as well. It was just a weird mix of a movie. The positives definitely coincided with the negatives to sort of have a 6 out of 10 type movie, if you like. But I did like this board game character, the way it was like, the little voice on it and stuff. I thought that was fun. There was a cool looking killer. I did predict the end, and I never hardly do with these movies, but I did. And when the board game started to cheat a little bit by they're answering the question correctly, but it still cheats them, I kind of lost a little bit of interest because the rules aren't any rules, and it feels unfair on some of the characters in this film. But overall, it wasn't bad. It was a fun time. That is the Blackland. Next up, we have the first Christmas film I've watched this year, and that is Jingle All The Way. Me and my wife absolutely loved this film. We thought, yeah, let's do our yearly watch of Jingle All The Way. And I absolutely love Arnold Schwarzenegger, man. He's just my hero, my movie hero anyway. And he is phenomenal in this movie. He's basically this dad who just work. Even when the Christmas party's on, he's still working. And he misses his son's karate class, and you know, his son's getting a bit fed up because he's never there, and he was told to pick up this toy called Turbo Man, this big figure, and he hasn't picked it up. So he goes out on Christmas Eve to get it, and he doesn't realise that this thing is sold out everywhere. He cannot get hold of it. Kind of like the PlayStation Portal right now. I've been checking that damn thing every day. I can't get hold of one. But anyway, not to go off topic. And it's just a big mad Christmas rush to find this toy. And he's got competition with this other guy who is, I forgot his name. Is it Sinbad? He goes by the name of Sinbad, but he's quite funny in this movie as well. He's like a crazed postal worker, and he's got like a bit of competition to get this this Turbo Man. I'm sure you've all seen this movie. It's a really fun time. It flies by, this movie. Absolutely, just the pace of it. It's just frantic like the movie is. Yeah, so love some of the quotes in this from Arnold Schwarzenegger as well. We all know the cookie one. The guy next door is just a total jerk. I hate him, but he does it well because he's that much of an unlikable jerk, if you like. And you want Arnold Schwarzenegger to get one over him all throughout the film. But yeah, really fun time. That is Jingle All The Way. Next up, we have Wrath of Becky. Now, I did watch the first Becky earlier in the year because I knew this one was coming out. I thought it was okay. Didn't absolutely love it or anything, but this one was a superior sequel for me. Just thought it was all amped up a little bit. And this sees Becky, who is... So she's moved in with this old woman because she's obviously orphaned now because of what happened to her parents in the first film. And these guys break in and sort of kill this old woman, and it just sets her off, and she goes and gets revenge on these guys who are all these, like, I don't know if the fascists or whatever they are. They're planning an uprising because they are just sick of the country and stuff. And they are led, in fact, by Sean William Scott. You remember him as Stifler in American Pie. This is the first time I've seen him as a villain. And I thought he was awesome. I really did. I thought he was such a surprising role for me. I didn't expect to see him in this type of role, but I want more of him now like this. He's just got this menacing stare and stuff where he's like, you just know he means business. And Becky just comes to try and do what she does in the first film, really. Just come and kill all these guys off. This little 17-year-old girl, and she's taking on these big, juiced-up guys, and you really do vote for it. Vouch for it, because these guys are just absolute scum, basically. Some of the gore in this is fantastic. I really love this one kill with a machete because the answer he gave her made her just enrage and kill him. I thought that was awesome. But yeah, not a bad movie at all. One of my favourites of the year, I think. And at only 83 minutes, this is another movie that just flies by. So that is Wrath of Becky. Okay guys, last couple of movies now, and we're going to go to this box set right here, and that is Silent Night, Deadly Night 1 and 2, the box set. Now, I'll just talk about Silent Night, Deadly Night first. I love this poster, by the way. Look at that. That is awesome artwork. A movie that was very controversial for 1984, was it? It might have been 86 or 80. I think it was 84. Can't quite remember now. 1984. This is basically this young boy whose parents are killed on Christmas Eve, and he sees the whole thing by this evil Father Christmas, and it has traumatized him over the years. Every time Christmas comes, he's getting a little bit anxious. He doesn't like this time of year, and he ends up getting tipped over the edge and becoming a Father Christmas killer himself, a Santa Claus killer, whatever you call him. And he just goes on a murder spree. Now, the first time I watched this, I didn't think it was all that great. But this time I watched it, I enjoyed it quite a bit more. The crazy grandpa in this movie, man. Oh my God, I love that scene where he's telling young Billy how scary Christmas is. Christmas Eve is the scariest night of the year and stuff. And he goes, if you see Santa, you better run for your life. But yeah, no wonder the poor kid's traumatized. That's before the death of his parents. But yeah, some cool kills in here. I didn't love them all, but there was some really fun ones, like where someone's impaled on a moose head, and there's another one where someone's slaying down a hill and his head comes off with an axe and stuff. Yeah, not a bad movie. I definitely enjoyed it this time around a lot more. Some shoddy acting here and there, but it's a fun little B movie. That is Silent Night, Deadly Night. And next up, we have Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. Sorry about the eyebrows there. I was just trying to do an impression of Eric Freeman, who's the main actor of this film. Yeah, he's widely known to be one of the worst performances you've ever seen in any movie. I do feel a little bit bad for the guy. He was told to do this, apparently, by the directors and the crew, but it's still terrible acting. Sorry, it is. And this is following the character of Ricky, is his name, and he is the brother of Billy from the first film, and he's become a serial killer himself now, and he breaks out this prison and goes on another murder rampage. Sorry, this mental facility. My biggest problem with this movie is not even Eric Freeman's acting, by the way. It is, half of it is the first movie. It's flashbacks, and it just shows you a lot of clips from the first film. That, to me, is the laziest filmmaking you can ever do. Sleepaway Camp 4 done this. It is just... You can basically watch the first one and fast forward these scenes, and this will be a 50-minute movie easily. I don't see any problem with anyone doing that at all, because it's just showing clips of something you've just seen. But this is a fun time when it gets going with Eric Freeman, because his acting is that out there and bizarre, and you just can't help but take your eyes off the guy. And there's some really fun kills in here too. Someone is impaled with an umbrella, and he opens the umbrella. Well, it's impaled inside them. Oh yeah, the garbage day, man. I mean, one of the greatest movie lines ever. However, I can't recommend it because it is a bad film. It is, but you can have fun with it if you go in with the right mindset. So I'm going to be doing a full review for these two guys over on my horror channel. And I might be doing 3, 4, and 5 and the remake as well if I have time, and ranking them all at the end, because it is Christmas time and I want to do some Christmas horror over there, so look out for them. That is Silent Night, Deadly Night 1 and 2. Hey guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. What did you think of these movies? I've got a Blu-ray and 4K update coming very soon with a little bit of an unboxing of my friend Tom, who has sent me quite a few things over the years. So look out for that. That'll be in the next video. And don't forget to get over to the horror channel to check out all the movie videos that I talked about. And look forward to them Silent Night, Deadly Night remake reviews as well. Don't forget to give this video a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe if this is your sort of thing. Thanks so much, everyone. You all take care, and I'll see you on the next video.